We're looking at the trim system on the Supercub, and this is the jack screw, and this is the yoke, and this right here is attached to the yoke is called a link. And I don't know whether it's called a link because it links the yoke to the horizontal stabilizer or because it links the horizontal stabilizers together. Maybe both. But anyway, the instructions, this yoke and jack screw are Dakota Cub parts, PMA'd parts, and this link is a brand new link, brand new part. I don't remember, I think I got that from Univer. I don't remember whether I got it from Univer or Aircraft Spruce, but Univer is the parts manufacturer for it. I got it from Univer. I remember that. It had a tag on it. I've got the tag over there in my basket with all the other parts that I've gotten. So anyway, the instructions, both the parts manual for the Cub and the instructions from Dakota Cub, as far as I could tell from what I could see, they show putting, these are number 5 bolts and nuts, and they show putting a number 5 washer in here between these ears on this link and the tab on this yoke. Well, there was no way I was going to get a number 5 washer in there, or 2 number 5 washers. There's supposed to be one on each side of this yoke, one on each one of these ears on the inside, as well as 2 washers, one on each, one under the head of the nut, and or one under the head of the bolt and one under the nut on both sides. In fact, the Piper parts list, they have a specific washer that goes in there. In the Dakota Cub manual, they say either use original Piper parts or use just an AN 960 5 washer. And so anyway, there was no way I could get a washer in there. I did manage to get 2 thin washers in there on each side, both sides, but this link then was so stiff that it barely moved. You could barely get it to move. And well, when I put those horizontal stabilizers and the elevator on there to rig the elevator controls, I noticed that I could just barely turn this trim wheel here. It was hard to turn, and so I figured, and once I took that horizontal stabilizer off, then this trim wheel turns just fine. So I figured the problem must be in this link, because it wasn't pivoting at all. You couldn't get it to turn. So I came and took the link off and took those washers out. And then, because when I put those, there's tubes, liner tubes that go in here, and there's a bushing on this, brass bushing on this link here on both sides. The liner tubes ride in, and the liner tubes then protrude through and go into the holes in the into the tubes on the horizontal stabilizer, and then there's a hole drilled in those, and they're bolted up to that, and that's what holds everything on here. And when I went and put that tube in there to put that horizontal stabilizer on, I noticed that the inside of the tube was pretty rusty. That was the first time it'd been out of the wax paper wrap that it came in, and I looked inside of it and it was pretty rusty. Pretty disgusted with it. So there's another tube that goes back here through this back bushing here, and it's a smaller diameter tube and a little bit shorter, and that rear of the horizontal stabilizer fits on that and is bolted to it, and it's supposed to pivot in this bushing. Well, none of them ever pivot for very long in there. That gets rusty, and those things just freeze up. And if you look at most of the older Cubs that have been sitting around for a while, when you change the trim on them, you can actually watch the horizontal stabilizer deflect as it goes through there instead of moving. On the other airframe, I modified it when we had it apart once, put a new liner in, a new tube in. I put a zert fitting on there so we could grease it, and that helped. And I thought when I took the new tube out that it was going to be in good shape, but I was pretty surprised. It came out okay. I didn't have to. I built a puller to pull those tubes out of there, and I didn't have to use it. I was able to get the tube out, but once I got it out, the chrome was all flaked off the tube, and it was unusable. So this airframe, most of them that are built now, have a boss welded on there, so you can put a zert in there to grease that tube. But it doesn't move very much. I don't know what the angle of movement on that is, but it's pretty. It doesn't move very much. The one here in the front moves a little bit more. So anyway, I cleaned that tube up and looked at it, and I thought I could see a little bit of rust in it too. So when I took this link off, and I looked in it to see if there was rust in it, and there was a little bit of dirt and stuff in there, but it wasn't too bad. I cleaned it up with a wire brush and some paint thinner and then lacquer thinner, and cleaned that out real good. And then I took some thinned peralkatone and coated the whole inside of that, inside of the bushings from the bushings across. It's just a tube in there, and there's a space in there. The only bearing point on that is these two bushings, which is about 1.5 inches or so on each end. And you'd think that'd fill up with grease and that would keep it from rusting in there, but grease doesn't necessarily keep things from rusting. It absorbs moisture too, and it kind of holds it in there, and it can cause it to rust. Although this tube that I took off of the other airframe was in good shape, the link tube, the tube that goes through there wasn't in that good a shape. So anyway, I got to looking at this after I had it off, and I realized I washed it down with some lacquer thinner, and paint just came off of it. So I realized that I hadn't cleaned that up and repainted it. And I like to take all my parts that I get, my new parts that I get, and clean all the paint off of them and repaint them, as I found rust underneath the paint and some pretty bad pits and stuff like that that get covered up with that red oxide primer that they use in the paint. So as a matter of course, I'll take all my new parts and clean them up, sandblast them and powder coat them, and that's what I did with this. And there was a little bit of rust and spots underneath the paint on that, but anyway, it's nice and shiny black now. And I took those washers out, and this pivot's pretty good. It's still a little bit stiff, but it's better than it was. It should make a big difference on it. I couldn't get it to do that with one hand before. I had to use both hands and really pry on it to move.